Why would you give your job that you hate or that you don't love, so we don't sound so negative, why would you give that job 60 hours a week, but you won't give your dream, your hustle, your desire 10 hours a week? So whether that's to get healthier, whether that's to start a business, whether it's to work on your relationship, whatever it is, why would you give, not even give that 10 hours, but give the job, the thing that feels like pressure, 60, 70, 80 hours a week? And maybe even more when you think about the open mental loops that are there as a result of the job. I want to tell you a quick story about the year 2024. I've been a corporate trainer and coach for the last 10 years. But in the year 2024, uh, my career really started to take off. I mean, like this, right? Training all over the place, traveling to all new parts of the world, Africa, Abu Dhabi, new parts of Europe, training at higher and higher levels. I mean, individually, I've probably trained thousands of people in 2024 alone, and over the year, clearly close to 10,000, if not over, virtual, in person, one to one, and group trainings. Not saying any of that to brag. The point is that through all of that, giving the hours, through the travel, what started to decline was my true desire, my dream, my destiny. That, as I say, to be a keynote speaker, to tell more of my story. I've lived a crazy life. Not gonna get into all of that in this video. And through it, have been able to transform my identity and transform myself and become this corporate trainer. It's a big part of my pull is how do I help others through this story? In 2024, as all of this was happening, guess how much was happening here with the keynote business, with my own brand? Virtually nothing, nothing. And what I started to realize was that despite being tired, that despite all the as great as all of this was, and I didn't even dislike my job, trying to keep it positive, right? I didn't hate my job. I actually felt fulfilled by it. It had a lot of the same mechanism of being in front of an audience, speaking, sharing insights, helping to create change and transformation. So maybe even more challenging there. But in this place where I was actually being fulfilled by the job and still knowing that there was more, still knowing I could do more, what I realized was that it came down to a matter of choice. In that, because this thing, building this thing, giving this additional 10 hours or even sometimes an hour was difficult, was not a signal that it was not something I was supposed to be doing. I think too often when something is challenging that we want to build or create or do, when it feels too challenging, that we then take that as a signal, oh, maybe I'm not meant to do this. Maybe God wants something else from me. No, instead, that challenge, that struggle, that resistance is the cost of leaving orbit. It's the cost of leaving your current reality and ascending to a different one. What do I mean by leaving orbit? I want you to think about the physics of what's called escape velocity. When a rocket ship is leaving Earth, when it takes off, it expends up to about 90% of its fuel and its power just to break through orbit. Why is that? Because there is this pull, this force called gravity that is pulling against the rocket ship, saying, no, you shall not pass. You are not going to leave. You are not designed to leave. And so that rocket ship, engineers, they realized they had to put so much power, so much fuel into the rocket so it could eventually escape velocity, so it could escape the gravitational pull. It's the same for us and for our dreams. Again, whether it's a new business, a relationship, your health, to escape your current reality, you must exert so much force, so much power, so much effort to escape the gravitational pull of your current reality. And that's what I realized was that it wasn't about hitting every intention every week without fail. Instead, it was about choosing, whether it was choosing 1 week, 10 hours, because that's where I knew I could put, whether it was choosing an hour, whether it was choosing writing something on a plane, whether it was choosing sending an email, while sitting in the airport. It's doing what I can, but choosing it. You see the difference. And the other thing to consider of why our job tends to get this time from us is because your job pays the bills. Your job takes care of the family. Your job has stakes, right? If you don't show up for the job, you will lose the job, or you get demoted or transferred to somewhere you don't want to be. But if you don't show up for your dream, what happens? Nothing. I mean, you feel it. You feel a bit disappointed, maybe even depressed, but your lights still stay on because you're paying your bills. Your family's still fed. Uh, your spouse or significant other they're fine and maybe even subconsciously a bit happier because they get more time with you. But what actually happens? What do you lose? There are no stakes. There's no what for. And so because of that, it gives this job even more pull on your life. So you've got to understand that you've got the pull of the stakes of the job. It's paying your bills, it's taking care of you, it's taking care of your family. And you've got the pull of gravity of your current reality that's keeping you down. How do we actually escape this? And I'm not going to give you, I can give you 3 tips and 5 tips, and you're going to forget most of it by tomorrow. Instead, what I think is most important is understanding this one truth, that in order to leave the orbit of your current reality, that pull, you've got to focus all your attention and all your power on being intentional, being on purpose with the actions you take. Not about how much action you take, but being on purpose about taking action every single day. What is one thing you can do? And like, I'm taking it way back to the basics, but what is one thing that you can do? And here's why. Doing that one thing, whether it's sending an email, whether it's creating a post, whether it's researching something. And I know people say stop reading books and all. I would never say that. Whether it's reading a book, because guess what? Knowledge is the fuel for power. Yes, you have to apply it, but it gives you the fuel. Knowledge also helps you to create distinctions. It helps you create awareness. So all of these people who are kind of seeking clout by denouncing reading and take action, take action. Yes, take action. But if all you can do and all you have the energy to do is read a book that's going to give you a bit more knowledge and insight in your field or in your area, do it. Focus on being on purpose with action. Focus on being on purpose with your intentions towards the thing that you want, towards that pull. And then when you feel that resistance, when you feel the pull back, know that that's normal. Know that that is the cost of leaving the orbit. You've got to push against that. And the way you're pushing against that is by taking one action. So I hope that in this video you got to reframe that resistance you're feeling is not a signal to stop. It's not a signal that you're choosing the wrong thing. Stay with it, because every time you switch from strategy to strategy, from idea to idea, from person to person, or from team to team, every time you do that switch, it's almost as if you're starting from ground zero. You're starting back from the same place and having to still have that build in momentum again. So stick with it. Trust that you are simply paying the cost, and with enough effort and enough energy, you will finally break through that gravitational pull into the next level of life, of destiny, of career, of happiness, of fulfillment that's for you. And then once you get to that next level, you can break through again, and you'll continue to break through until one day the reality that you set out to create is the reality that you're living.